Hey everybody, hope you guys are doing good today. I wanted to do a follow-up on a video that I did the other day. It was in regards to the government stockpiling food, and apparently they have warehouses in every state, and every state is buying, millions of dollars worth of food and storing it. And they obviously know something that they're not really sharing with the public. This is a Forbes article from May. It says the sun is asleep. Deep solar minimum feared as 2020 sees record-setting 100-day slump. The 100-day slump they're referring to is sunspots. And right now, the sun is going to sleep and the sunspots are decreased. So when you look at the sun right now, that's why it looks like it does, and you really don't feel the heat that you normally do because the sunspots kind of increase the radiation and heat that the sun puts out. It says, while we here on Earth suffer from corona, our star, the sun, is having a lockdown all of its own. Spaceweather.com reports that already there has been 100 days in 2020 when our sun has displayed 0 sunspots. And that makes 2020 the second consecutive year of record-setting low number of sunspots, which you can see. So that's why our sun's looking a little bit different than it normally does. In this one, physicists' upcoming grand solar minimum could wipe out global warming for decades. This cycle we're going into is going to last for around 33 years. It's 3 11-year cycles. So as you can see right here, there's barely any sunspots, and normally the sun is covered in sunspots. And this is from October 5th. This is an older article. It's from July of 2015. Professor claims that a mini ice age is coming in the next 15 years. And the prediction is based on what's known as the sun's 11-year heartbeat. The sun's magnetic activity is not the same year in, year out. It fluctuates over a cycle that has been between 10 and 12 years. Ever since this was discovered 172 years ago, scientists have struggled to predict what each cycle will look like. But just last week at the National Astronomy meeting in Wales, mathematics professor Valentina Zarkova from Northumbria University in the UK has presented a new model that can forecast what these solar cycles will look like based on a dynamo effects at play in 2 layers of the sun. Zarkova says that she can predict their influence with an accuracy of 97%. Looking at these magnetic wave patterns, the model predicted that there would be few sunspots over the next 2 11-year heartbeats, called cycle 25, which peaks in 2022, and cycle 26, which runs from 2030 to 2040. In cycle 26, the 2 waves exactly mirror each other, peaking at the same time but in opposite hemispheres of the sun. Their interaction will be disruptive and they will nearly cancel each other. We predict that this will lead to the properties of the modern minimum, says Zarkova. During the original modern minimum, the entire river Thames froze over in England. So I guess time to get your skates ready. This is the river they're referring to, and they're basically telling us that this river completely froze over. Here's an article from Live Science. It says, is a mini ice age coming? Modern minimum spurs controversy. Valentina Zarkova, professor of mathematics at Northumbria University in the United Kingdom, used a new model of the sun's solar system which is the periodic change in solar radiation, sunspots, or other solar activity over a span of 11 years, to predict that solar activity will fall by 60% during the 2030s to conditions last seen during the mini ice age that began in 1645. So we may be talking about the peak of this thing in the 2030s, but it's begun now and it's going to slowly drop off. The upcoming modern minimum is expected to be shorter than the last one in the 17th century, which lasted 5 solar cycles, and it came out to like 70 years is what I read. And Sarkova told Live Science in an email it will be lasting about 3 solar cycles, so around 33 years. And so that you can see these cycles, this was the mini ice age, the modern minimum, back in the 1600s, and the sun starts falling off as far as the heat and radiation it puts out, and then it just bottoms out for quite a while in this particular one, and then starts climbing back up to where we get to the Dalton minimum, the Glassberg minimum, and then we just came out of a modern maximum. And they call this the Eddy minimum because Eddy basically named the Mater minimum after a guy by the name of Mater who discovered it and named it. And this one is Eddy's prediction. And you can see here around 2020 is where we are now, and this stuff's going to drop off. And they're showing, you know, up into 2050, it's going to bottom out. So, you know, I don't know about this thing lasting 30 years when they're showing a scale like this. It looks more to me, you know, like we're talking somewhere around 100 years, but you know, I don't know that for certain. I'm just going by what the scale's showing us and trying to give you an idea of what's coming. It says global cooling. NOAA confirms full-blown grand solar minimum. And the NOAA, that's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So these people, I mean, they pretty much know what they're talking about. This isn't some fly-by-nights. The signs are clearer than ever. The sun is heading into a new solar minimum cycle now. Despite loud claims in recent decades that man-made CO2 is somehow driving the Earth's climate, history and science demonstrate that the largest and most influential driver of planetary climate is actually the sun. So much for global warming because of man. If you go through what these cycles show you, then you're going to have a changing climate, you know, throughout the years. And that's exactly what goes on. And we just reached this maximum, which is where obviously we're going to have the highest temperatures, highest heat output, sun output from the sun, and dropping off into the modern minimum. You know, we're definitely going to see a decrease in global temperatures. And, you know, I was thinking not long ago, Trump was meeting with the governor of California, and they were talking about global warming, and Trump just kept saying, well, it's going to cool off. It's going to get colder. So obviously, I guess the government knows all about what's coming, and the fact is global warming is actually what the sun decides, not what we decide. NASA data shows Earth's climate will change, only it won't be getting warmer. The known indicator of solar activity is the presence of sunspots. So without the sunspots, then you definitely have a cooler climate. There's going to be a lot less heat coming to Earth. And what people may not realize at this point is this is totally going to affect the crops that we grow. And if we get less heat from the sun, we're going to have a lot less output into food. So that's something to think about. And I was telling you in the other video, it's time to start storing food. And there's no telling how long this is going to last. They're predicting 33 years, but I showed you on the scale, it could go, as long as the last mini ice age and even longer. And this is the grandsolarminimum.com website. They got some good information on here, but this is kind of an idea. It shows the modern minimum, which endured from approximately 1645 until 1720. And I believe that was like the peak time, because here it shows you from 1300 to 1850, but reached its chilliest point in the 17th century. So this right here is showing us a 550-year cycle of the earth cooling down and the sun producing less heat to us, but it shows that it really bottomed out in weather at this point. It says the Thames River and canals and rivers in the Netherlands froze over during winter. The population of Iceland decreased by about half. It says in parts of China, warm weather crops that had grown for centuries were abandoned. In North America, early European settlers experienced exceptionally severe winters. So we may have some really cold winters coming at us. Climate during modern minimum. Chilly temperatures during the modern minimum. Many things can change temperatures on Earth. A volcano erupts, swathing the Earth with bright haze that blocks sunlight, and temperatures drop. From 1650 to 1710, temperatures across much of the northern hemisphere plunged when the sun entered a quiet phase now called the modern minimum. During this period, very few sunspots appeared on the surface of the sun, and the overall brightness of the sun decreased slightly. Already in the midst of a colder than average period called the Little Ice Age, Europe and North America went into a deep freeze. Alpine glaciers extended over valley farmland. Sea ice crept south from the Arctic, and the famous canals in the Netherlands froze regularly, an event that is rare today. So, for a while they're talking about, a slight decrease in temperature, maybe 1-2 degrees the first few years of it, but it's going to drop hard when it reaches the peak of this cycle. And for those people that are not prepared for what's coming, it's something you guys need to think about, because if the government's been storing this food, I found out, for like the last 5 years, and they just keep ordering more and more and increasing the warehouses. So you might want to think about storing some food, not telling everybody to go empty out the stores, but the government obviously is preparing for something that they're really not telling us about. So it's just a thought, trying to share some info with you guys so maybe you're prepared for what is coming. Because this modern minimum, who knows how long it's going to last. But when it does bottom out, our food production is going to be cut hard as far as what's grown on the earth. Because with no sunspots and losing 60% of the radiation and heat that the sun normally generates, growing crops is, you're going to lose a month, maybe 2, 3, I don't know. But it's just time to prepare, guys. I just care about my viewers, my subscribers, Earth, all my fellow humanity, and I hope that you guys are prepared for things to come. God bless you. God bless your family. You guys have a great day.